Great. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about WebRTC and spatial computing. That's the fancy new word, but it has an actual difference. First, a little bit about me. That picture over there, I just went on Ancestry like an hour ago. So Adam Stolarz and Sophia Steck, I think that's Adam over there. They were here and here, so some villages nearby, and they got married, and they came to Krakow, which is what my family always told me we were from. And then they all went to New Jersey and had this guy, Frank, who spoke Polish as well, and he had my dad, who's here, and I've been touring around on this trip, and then they had me. So but we weren't Polish. I guess we were Austro-Hungarian Polish, so we're just before it's independent. So going to talk about, what I do, we're at a company called Evercast, and we've made a niche for ourselves, made a real name for ourselves in Hollywood. Our deal is to create really high megabits per second WebRTC connections. Usually this is someone who's overseas, or it can even be from one part of LA to another, but these guys are trying to stream either live media or files. We're very heavily in what they call editorial. So if you've heard the term post-production, right? After a movie's shot and they need to edit it, they need to color it. There's all these different steps that you have to do, and that's what our product does. We're involved in the supermajority of like Oscar-winning films and movies. People use us for television shows. We also have a good footprint in gaming and advertising. This is what our software looks like, and we've done, obviously had to make WebRTC work on desktop iOS. Some years ago, we were browser only, but that didn't allow you to do all the color, so there's various aspects. This is a good little schematic of like what it is in Hollywood to do, to do a movie, and there's similar schematics. And each of these involves what they'll call a workflow. So like someone will be reviewing a script and there'll be all these steps to doing that, or over here, visual effects. If anyone's worked in on and around that, you do the things and you farm them out to the people. You're almost doing a map reduced with humans, and okay, everybody work on your scene. Okay, bring all the collection back. Okay, and some visual effects soup will integrate all that. Each part of this step, and like I said, you get down to the end, you get to editorial and sound design, spotting sessions where people are overdubbing or they're looking at things. There's all these different parts where it's very useful to have a high fidelity understanding of what's going on in another part. So we needed to make this work on Apple Vision Pro for a couple reasons. Number one, we knew the product was coming out, and all of our studio customers, and especially the high-end ones, are like, we're going to adopt this platform, and you better be secure, right? So you have to go through your various security certification, and the product was coming out, but we didn't have the thing yet. And so we had to use their SDK and try and make port WebRTC to it, and we didn't have one, right? So it's like, what's gonna happen? So I'll go over a couple of those. This is what the interface wound up looking like on Vision Pro, and I have one here, which I'll try and demo at the end. It's very bandwidth intensive, so we'll see if it works. But significantly for the Vision Pro, it has a color space a little bit better than what you'd call Rec 709. So there's like, and I'll show you the triangles, right? So you got the smaller triangle that everybody's used to, and then you got the next triangle up, P3, and then Rec 2020. So people will edit in a normal color space because you're just, you're looking for emotion. But when you start to color, when you start to remotely try and review, is this ready to go to a movie theater? You need better color. Or if you're doing visual effects and you're like, okay, this, looks like the old Windows, 95 boot up screen, and it's just this horrible gradient and you want to shoot yourself. So color space, super important. HDR is also a factor here, and there's two parts of HDR. So I'm working in a high dynamic range as a creator, and then there's like HDR10 or something you might have supported on your phone. That's a receive format. Bottom line is this has to do with dynamic range. You see it associated with 10-bit, but it's not the same thing. Like 10-bit color is just 10-bit color. But bottom line is people who are operating with content where they need to look at all this stuff over WebRTC. So it was a trial and error process. obviously, when you first try and port WebRTC, libWebRTC to another platform, you have to look at the port for your platform, and your platform doesn't exist. So I tried to get as much useful data that might be useful to anyone else. And I think several months later, I started going through source code and trying to find any project. I think only a few months ago, somebody finally did a public port to it. But partially rewrote the audio pipeline and did a full rewrite of the video pipeline. Had to, because we wanted to use custom shaders. Custom shaders just wasn't available. For the audio, right? So we wrote a custom ADM, okay? And here's a little of the details on it. But the trick was with this unit, it's like the APIs kind of weren't documented, and it kind of, like everything you try and do, fails right off, and you don't know which thing to call. So you just kind of randomly like look at the documentation for iOS, you try them all out, you see if one of them doesn't break, and then you eventually get there. So the other reason is we do two unique things. We have audio per stream, and this is a beautiful thing for surround and immersive. A bunch of our clients use 5.7.1, right? So we have an 8-channel, just Opus 320 kind of thing where, we're streaming. We have that rudimentary support they have in the browser for surround, but also our desktop client has a more robust, like you can rearrange which channel is which channel. Notably, like video game, there's some high-end video game console developers who use this for their workflows. So someone's remotely trying to see how the video game do like a multi-hour playthrough, and they're like, how does it sound? So they're, the guy remotely has a 5.1 or 7.1 environment. Bunch of movies use it as well. So in order to support all that, we had to make sure. And then when you select a different source, we want to be able to do audio depending on which stream you're sort of looking at. Let's see if there's anything interesting here. And microphone support. So again, this just goes back to fumbling around trying to get it, but we wanted to get, we also wanted you to be able to be a participant in the session. And that became tricky. So when we first started, it's like persona didn't work, couldn't really talk. You could kind of be a view only, but you want them to be a full citizen of the environment. This is how we're passing on ADM audio to WebRTC. So video, total rewrite. And again, the virtual persona was a bit tricky there. So we wrote these different components for it. And because we have to maintain, we also are on Apple TV. Apple TV is a really good destination box. It's a beautiful little gadget. We actually decode the VP9. We're not using the native decoders on there, so the thing gets really, really hot. But people use the Apple TV, will plug it in, and that's sort of a destination. Well, nowadays, Apple TV you could actually be in a conference because you can have this be your face. So we wanted to kind of write it so that our iOS library could work across iOS, visionOS, tvOS, et cetera. And, this is one of those things, an example, right? So it, we're fumbling around. We're not listed. Okay, we won't try that. We won't try that. It's not, you'll hear of like private frameworks. It's not a private framework. It's just an undocumented framework. So, we got there. So that's all the input. So we got we got video and audio coming in to a room, and then we got audio going out. Now let's talk about how we get video out. Again, we have these crazy, rules or crazy levels of quality we're supposed to deliver. And our streams are like 5 megabits to like 36 megabits per second. So they're chunky, but and we're very VP9. Like we just totally standardized on that because we knew it would work on every browser and everything, as opposed to using H.264. And we've done a lot of optimization, like GPU optimization. Like we do a lot of stuff to make sure it's silky smooth, and so you don't get hiccups. And that's mostly when we're playing it back. We developed this solution called Pixel Weave and we've shown that at some IEEE conferences where we use the GPU to actually, handle all the bits so that they get rendered well. But there's just so many API limitations, and they want you to use this thing called Reality Kit, which sounds really exciting in theory, but like all brand new things, it's like, come to this tiny playground with 10 functions, and then you're like, oh, okay, can I use your old thing? So we're still using, metal, and we're using everything we can there. The other thing is, because of this, we want to pump, this is the fun part, we want to pump stereo, we want to pump 360 through this. So I'll walk you through a little bit of this. So anybody who's done 3D probably knows. So they've got this thing called vertex amplification. And again, this is just another area where we want to move the pixels, we want to transform the color, we want to do all this. And we're getting these images in that we need to either wrap around you or we got stereo. And instead of like using any of the new formats, because we may be in a situation where someone's doing some crazy thing like they've got 2 cameras and then they're pumping it into OBS and they manage to make it left and right. And then that's coming in some non-SMPTE standard format. And then it's just an image. So we try to be flexible and just go, yeah, okay, if you can throw that on the screen, we will take it back apart either in a side-by-side or a top-bottom overlay format. So just you walk through here. So we needed to support all these different color spaces and some that aren't browser supported. So here's a look at the texture code we do. And again, what I was saying, we've got our planar, we've got spatial video, and then we're moving into 3D objects. So people are starting to do stuff where they're USDZs that they're like, okay, we're doing this, or we have some Unreal Engine, VFX related stuff, and they're trying to previs that to someone far away in real time so they can go, what do you want me to change about this? A very common situation with this is like you're in a, the LED wall rooms, they call them a volume. So you're in a volume and then you have this virtual art department that's somewhere else. Well, this VAD team has to quickly update. Video games are fun, but when you're having to real-time update levels, it's less fun. And when you're doing that, when there's like talent on stage standing there tapping their foot, it's even less fun. So this is, again, a way that we get used to solve those problems. Mention this, right? So you got your left, right, or your top and bottom. These are sort of the de facto standard. There's some official standards for these. They're real standards in terms of like consumer formats, but this gets the job done. And then there's also an extended side-by-side. So you can have like 2 HD images that are full width, right? You're not compressing them, and then those become each eye. So this is a cool thing we implemented inside, and our engineer Danila, who's like the lead on this project and did most of the coding, created this where you can create the immersive space on this, and you bring any of those formats in, and you can go, okay, well, if it's side by side, top, bottom, etc., and also 360 videos. And so just to walk you through, here's how we set up our view matrix for one of these. Okay, and then the next thing is we've got to render it, and we have a different renderer for each one. So sometimes you're trying to extract the pieces and do it for a side-by-side so that it's a flat plane, or you're trying to create a skybox. And in the skybox, again, Apple was like, oh, just use, our new thing. And we're like, okay, we did, it didn't work. And we actually went to an undisclosed location and discussed it with the people, and the people helped us, and everything went great. And then at the end, they're like, yeah, do it the way you're thinking of doing it. So here's plane rendering. And we'll make these slides available, obviously, later. Not expecting you to study the code right now, but this is the vertex and fragment shaders. So there's, so there's our vertex and shader for the stereoscopic, okay? And then for 180 or 360 video, then we had to create the Radius 1 Sky Dome mesh. So we had to create our own. We couldn't use like the immersive mode they have yet, because they're like, well, that doesn't do that. So this one, and then you can see here's the corresponding shaders for that one. And so here we'll get some video so you guys can actually see what's going on. So this is a tool Danilo put together when he would just take some video and then he would be able to hit it, okay, go immersive, and then test out whether all his work was working, including color, and that it was all going with the correct perspective. Here's an example of him just taking something out that was a 3D scene. What's very cool is you can even do 360 stereo. So you can have, you could have it just out, or you could have stereoscopic where you got two images. So it's depth and it's surround. So it's very versatile. What can I say? You could think of high-end movies that shoot in stereo. If you Google around those are the kinds of customers we like to go after. Is like, hey, you're somewhere here and you want to talk to Los Angeles and you want to show them in real time this stereo that you've shot. That's what this tool is really good for, and we're really pleased that people are using it. Like and it's very niche. Like this is crazy niche. Like there's a handful of people who are even in movies. If you guys remember, there was like the trough of disillusionment for 3D stereoscopic. 07, 08, 09, 10, and then about 10 it dies, right? And 11, and everybody's got these 3D TVs and they don't know what they're for. But here's an example of the 360, but at the high end of the market, and you're seeing a comeback. Like we're using a bunch of Blackmagic equipment here. Blackmagic just came out with this lensing that you can put on their newest camera to do this, and there's a resurgence because obviously the whole key was, is there a platform that doesn't make people nauseous that I can deliver this content to, and we're now getting there. Okay, here you can see Tommy, our head of product, and JP, our strategy officer, and I think they're watching this right now. So this is some content. This is a movie we're working or being used on, Wicked, and the guys, and you can see Tommy's on a desktop, and JP's, you can see his persona right there, and then you can see he's actually got a camera on him wearing the Vision Pro. So you can see he's both a participant in his Vision Pro, and then you can see the content that he's doing. And what's interesting, he shot this film, and it's a 360. And so you can see they just clicked it, boom, and now you're in this 360 mode. And you can look around. And I'll try and do a live demo of that one. This was very gratifying. When we first went to work on Apple Vision Pro, there was both internal pressure not to do it, and there was, there's just everybody's like, is that really going to be a platform? Is now time to put some resources on it? Luckily, we had engineers like you. Like Danilo was like superhuman. He's like, I can get this done. I can get this done in a finite amount of time. Then we were very fortunate to have access to the unit. We shipped day and date, and we were security certified day and date. So we didn't even have the gadget, but we got through the security pipeline of Disney, and so they had already tested our app, run it on real hardware, and said you're good to go. And their security department had done it, so we were happy. And then we get it out, and we're like, if you're an existing customer and you download this app, and it's just on the App Store, so we're like, okay, all four of you enjoy this new app. And then we got this totally random, unsolicited, believe it or not, there was a flood in LA, and it was inhibiting, we're pretty sensitive to things. So, it could be a light drizzle and we don't feel like driving, but whatever. There was an actual impediment to travel, and we got this tweet, and certainly we reached out and said, can we retweet your tweet, but in a very fancy way. Bottom line is, people are using this and prevising, looking at and working. And so they can be talking to their editor and going, okay, move this, do that. It's very Minority Report, as you would imagine. But more importantly, they're seeing it at a quality and they never could have before. And it's really super annoying to be trying to do that on something like this, and then you say something, and then 5 seconds later the guy does it. It messes up creative workflows, because these are super demanding artist types who are just like, you guys were talking about these 100, 200 millisecond latency. You have to have that for any of this to work. This is a not so humble brag kind of slide that's useful to show, but these are some of the films that we've been used on. But a lot of these we were used in an editorial context or a VFX context. Being able to be part of the cutting edge, people doing really adventurous things, and I think it's worth noting. So we're fully in the Janus religion in our company, and we built an on-premises version of our software. So it's our whole service with Janus in there, but we have some of our clients who now host it at their location. So the cool thing is they can do ridiculous megabits per second because they're on their own network. They're on, tens of megabits per these streams, and then they can use it with Vision Pros, or they're on their own VPN. So it's like, instead of going through AWS, which is kind of our cloud, we're cloud agnostic, but AWS is our main one. These guys are doing stuff that we don't even know. And to the movie industry, they really love being in control of their bits. All of this stuff is multi-million-dollar impact. Leaks really destroy a lot of created value. Same thing for our gaming customers. Same thing for our advertising customers who are working on, like, they're early on a Super Bowl ad or something like that. So we're generally in this space, and that's where, the WebRTC and its, security and so forth really becomes in benefit. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get a demo going. Now, again, this is a live tech demo on modest bandwidth. So I'm logged in. Okay, let me get this so you guys can see what I see. All right. All right. Okay, so good. Okay, so, oh wow, it's very flickery, isn't it? I wonder why that is. No, whatever, it's probably lights. So yeah, and I could, tune you all out if I wanted to. Okay, imagine everyone's not there. Okay, so to launch Evercast, I will pump this up and Evercast. So let's see if there's anything fun to watch here. So, I mean, you can see the massiveness of these. Oh, okay, good. So the cool thing is there's someone somewhere else who shared this video into the room, but because of the way we wrote it, we're using data channels, I can, control the scrub. So if I press play, here's the video. And again, the bandwidth may be an impediment here. Okay, to get this. And so you can open an immersive space with this. And so that's where it gets really cool, because this is being sent. And again, let's see. So I can set this up, go into my own thing, and then let me get back at that, close that immersive space. So, and you can see it's a wraparound video. So oh wait, I got to tell it. Yeah, problem is I got to tell it that this is 360. Boom. All right, there we go. So you can see the videos behind me, videos over here, and we've been able to successfully do these with, you can have a live camera that's doing a 360, pump it through our system, and then I can be looking. Or what we have some of our clients do, and I hope you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. I'm like looking over to the left of a scene and then looking over, there's tents around and stuff. You guys kind of see that? Okay, good. So, and again, because it's immersive, I can't see you, but, and then, so let's get out of that one. So the cool thing is there's multiple streams I can see. So I'll pop this out, get rid of that immersive space. Now, if I have enough bandwidth, I will try it. So I want to just show the, if I run Evercast on here, I think I'm good on time, right? So I'll go into this one. Enter room. It can get pretty Inception level if I put this screen on this screen, which I'm piping to that. Okay, good. Now, what I want to do is I want to see if I can stream a file here. And let's see what this is. I'm going to try and bring the bandwidth down because your upstream isn't great here. Start. Okay, good. So this is some footage I took using the phone held this way, which is stereoscopic. So then I used a converter to convert it down. So if I go back to this, so now you're seeing me here. So if I think I can X that out. So you can see now there's multiple streams. So when you're working with someone, you might have multiple different things going on. So I'm like, oh, okay, I want to show that one off. Now this one's a stereo stream. So I'll go back to planar, left, right, and I won't do 2x squeezed, open, and then I can bring it around. So let's move this over here. Let's get this crud out of the way. Okay, so here we are, and this is going down. I think that's my daughter in the front there. This is like the best water experience I ever had. And so I'm up there trying not to get my iPhone wet, but shooting some stereo of this. So both those things, full res, so it's 2 HD streams. Obviously I'm at 2 megabits, so you're seeing a lot of artifacting, but on high bandwidth, you can go as fat as the Wi-Fi will let you. And again, here, let me get my size up. Where's my... right there. You scale this up. So I want to see it as big as I can. So,
we're not seeing what you're seeing.
Oh, okay. This is more fun. All right, this is probably better. Thank you for telling me. Okay, so here we can see I've gone here and I can switch between the streams, right? So that's that stream and this stream, and I've created an immersive stream out of the second one. And I can go add another stream, another stream, another stream. So if we're working on a whole bunch of stuff, you could be streaming out of Unreal Engine, you could be streaming out of this, and it's really just bandwidth dependent. And if I go back to that, close the immersive space. All right, so now I'm back to you guys. And I can just keep pumping new streams into it. And so in a collaborative environment, you'd have 3 or 4 people possibly streaming different pieces. They also use it for live workflow. So you'll have you'll be shooting and you'll have one camera that's like looking at the whole situation, and then you'll have a feed from every camera, like that camera right there that's looking at the crowd and this camera that's looking at me. And those would all be able to be used in a remote direction context. So again, we're used, going back to that slide with the whole production, people use us at the beginning, people use us at the end. We're this sort of Swiss Army knife of using WebRTC to eliminate the barriers of time and space and allow people to create essentially really high value art. And to create that really high value art and have, I like to invoke Hamilton in the room where it happens. So this room is where you get the decision makers who need to be part of it. And if they couldn't see it in high quality, they wouldn't be able to make the right decision. And these are multi-million-dollar decisions most of the time. So it's nice to have the right people in it. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Damien. I am left a little bit speechless, but I hope that there are some people who are not as speechless as I am, and there are some questions on your mind. Oh yeah, there are.
I have 2 questions. First one is, what's the real use case for Vision Pro? What's the advantage over, I don't know, a big screen or a couple of screens on your desktop?
I can answer that 2 or 3 ways, and you'd have to tell me who you mean. But for our customers, they'll spend $30,000 for a color-corrected monitor that sits here, and they will go in a dark room for 8 hours, and they will stare at pixels. And they will use their golden eyes or their golden ears to study it to make sure that at least their part didn't get messed up before Dune goes to the theater so you can watch it in IMAX. So for those guys, the fact that you could take this super cheap $3,500 toy and stick it on your eyes when you're, you just hit your hotel in Barcelona and log on to decent bandwidth and go, yes, make it red, make it blue, do your thing. That's super significant because now people can be anywhere. I don't know if anyone in this audience is an advocate of remote work, but it's a whole new thing that's going on. And yeah. And people with a lot of freaking money who make billion-dollar films love being able to work from anywhere. So that's one persona. But well, I guess I'm not joking so much. There's so many different. Another use of this is on set. So if somebody's looking at it and they're looking, someone can get it more immersive. So you're always telepresence. Cisco coined it. I've been playing with telepresence since like 2000. I had a webcam in my car in 1999 on some weird Wi-Fi, like James Bond. It's really hard. It's exceptionally hard. And to be able to do telepresence, look, we always talk about it as an over-the-shoulder experience, right? Meaning I'm here and I go, no, do this. Oh yeah, that's great. So when artists are collaborating, and my buddy was at MIT in like, was it 2006? They had, between Ireland and MIT, they had the eye correction. So it looked like you're looking and they had a big screen and you could go. And then you bring your whiteboard marker and you're like, no, never mind. Okay, I'll give you a call. It's really hard to create I'm really there experiences. And that's what this is good for.
Okay.
There was a question up here.
Oh, sorry.
The mic is coming.
Yeah, thanks. Nice stuff. Ross from ScreenMeet here. So I have two quick questions, one technical, one generic. So I saw you were using audio engine for your product, and we used to do like very similar stuff, custom audio device module for WebRTC on Mac. And we always had issues with audio engine, like tearing down, switching mics with echo cancellation. So why not using like audio unit graphs? Maybe like you're not like familiar with these details, but if you do, like, it would be nice to know. And so basically, why audio unit and not audio engine and not audio unit graph? And a second question is, how many engineers do you have, and do you have a separation between like who works on audio and who works on video? If that's not a secret, so.
Yeah,
Thanks.
no, it's not a secret. We're relatively engineering teams around 30 strong. It's a very, very compact team. The company itself is much larger. A lot of people supporting. We have 24/7 support. So there's a lot of humans that go into this. As for the details, I'd have to ask Danila on that. I do know. I'll concur with you. For instance, we whenever we're switching, people will switch to, headphones, and then their AirPods will click, and this, that, and the other. And we are constantly debugging for our customers' audio connection problems, just because there's always a new gadget. And we're also, what I will tell you is, we integrate with DeckLink. We integrate with a bunch of weird hardware that's very specific for our industry. So a lot of our choices are guided by like how we can get access, to that. But the audio, we're about to do sort of a big rewrite of our audio. So I'd love to chat with you later and get some of the feedback you have.
Awesome, thanks.
Apparently, we have a question from the chat. Adam asked, do you think some of the changes could be merged into Lib WebRTC upstream?
So I can talk to my guys. I don't know how. It's like there's a huge chunk of our code that would go in. What I did find was, like I said, there's another open source project that I referred to another client, and they've been using successfully to implement like pure, like a replacement to Twilio's abandoned stuff on WebRTC. So I think those. And that project I downloaded and built and tested, and it worked fine for me. So like that's what I would refer people to. Ours is so heavy and surroundy and stuff like that. But we are trying to. We're an open source oriented company, and we like to push stuff out. So I'll get with my guys and see what we could push.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any other questions from anyone else? We have another question. The mic is coming.
Oh, I got a real-time answer from Danila. He says, we're using audio unit nodes for some parts, but in general, we're using slightly higher level framework, AV audio engine. Yeah.
I have a question regarding using this with some AI-generated content, some overlay, let's say, for augmented reality or something like this. Is it possible to do this? And does it have to be embedded in the same video stream like the original video, or this is a separate stream, or maybe you have some plugin architecture or something like this to implement such functionality?
So let me see if I understand. So if you think about 2D video, they'd have like little devil horns and all that, right? Or are we talking about basically masks and things like that? Is it what you're talking about?
Yeah, something like this, or just object detection or such stuff.
Yeah, so the closest we've got to that, we have an R&D project working on, again, we're very customer focused, so we're not consumer, we're enterprise. So like the AI visual we're doing has to do with understanding what's going on. So someone will spend 6 hours editing something. Well, there's a bunch of stuff they create, and watching that stream will do that. I think the API that we're using for that is just your general whip wep, like pull the stream out, do stuff to it, and analyze it. But none of that is a direct, and now we're putting an overlay back on, you know. Are you asking about like how someone would do WebRTC and like basically get the stream and then look at it? And I mean, like the talk we just saw 2 talks ago, where you kind of do stuff to it in real time?
Yeah, something like this. I think about possibility that someone watches streams from multiple cameras with some extra stuff added to it by AI, and how potentially someone could use this device for such a thing.
Yeah, there's pretty much no limits to what the device can do as long as you're willing to write everything from scratch.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Unless there are any further questions, let's give a hand to Damien again.